This is the story of David Calloway and his wife Lisa Calloway. They had been married for 7 years when the quiet started. Not the comfortable quiet of two people who no longer needed to fill silence, but the other kind, the kind that fills a room the way water fills a basement, slowly, imperceptibly, until one morning you find yourself standing in it and wondering how long it has been rising. David was a man who measured love in consistency rather than gesture, who believed that showing up, day after day, without drama or fanfare, was the truest form of devotion. Lisa had once found this steadiness beautiful. Somewhere along the way she had begun to find it suffocating. What neither of them would admit, not to each other, not entirely to themselves, was that they had each been waiting for the other to change first, and in that waiting, they had both grown very still. The house on Meridian Street was the kind of house that photographed well. There was a porch with 2 chairs that nobody sat in, a kitchen with copper pots that Lisa had picked and David had hung, a hallway lined with framed photographs documenting 7 years of vacations, anniversaries, the particular choreography of 2 people who had decided to build a life together and had, more or less, succeeded. David worked in municipal engineering. He managed drainage systems and flood infrastructure for the county, work that most people found tedious when he explained it at dinner parties, but which he found quietly satisfying in the way that all work is satisfying when you are genuinely good at it. He was methodical. He prepared lunches the night before. He remembered doctor's appointments and car service dates and the names of colleagues' children. He loved Lisa in the way he did most things, thoroughly and without much ceremony. Lisa taught interior design at a community college 2 days a week and ran a small consultancy from their spare bedroom the other 3. She had a gift for color and proportion, for understanding what a room was trying to say and helping it say it more clearly. She was warm with clients, funny with friends, and had a way of making strangers feel immediately at ease. With David, she was often somewhere else. Not in a way that anyone else would notice. She was present at dinner. She asked about his day. They watched television together on the couch, her feet tucked beneath her, his arm along the back of the cushions without quite touching her shoulder. The choreography was intact. Only the 2 of them knew what it was covering. It was a Tuesday in October when David first saw the message. He had not been looking. He had picked up her phone by mistake. They had the same black case, and the screen had lit up before he could set it down. "You looked incredible today. I keep thinking about your laugh." He read it twice. Put the phone face down on the counter. His own phone was beside it, and he picked that one up instead and stood at the kitchen window for a long moment, looking at the neighbor's oak tree dropping its leaves across the fence. When Lisa came in from the living room, he handed her the phone. "You have a message," he said. "I picked it up by accident." She read it. He watched her face. There was a half second, not even that, a quarter second in which something moved behind her eyes, and then she laughed. It came out easily. That was what struck him later. How easily it came. "That's just Nate," she said. "He's a client. He's like that with everyone. It's embarrassing. You know how some people just—" She made a loose gesture with her hand. "He doesn't mean anything by it." "Nate," David repeated. "Nathan Pryor. The Whitmore Street renovation I showed you. The gray kitchen." He did remember the gray kitchen. She had shown him photographs on her laptop, talked through the cabinet hardware for 10 minutes. He had listened, had asked questions. He was good at listening. "Okay," he said. "David." She set her phone down and turned toward him. "It's nothing. I promise you. He's one of those people who flirts without knowing he's doing it. It makes me uncomfortable too." She looked at him steadily. She did not seem uncomfortable, but she seemed earnest, and he had been with her for 9 years, married for 7, and he knew the difference between her performed emotions and her real ones. Or he believed he did. "I'm not accusing you of anything," he said. "I know." She touched his arm briefly as she moved to the refrigerator. "I know you're not." That night, lying beside her in the dark, David listened to her breathing slow into sleep and tried to identify what he was feeling. Not jealousy exactly, not quite suspicion, something more like a sound at the edge of hearing, not loud enough to name, not quiet enough to ignore. He told himself it was nothing. He had told himself that before, about other small things, other moments when the choreography had briefly faltered and then resumed. He was still telling himself when he finally fell asleep. The distance did not announce itself. It moved the way shadows move in late afternoon, gradually, then everywhere. November came. David noticed that Lisa had begun leaving her phone face down on surfaces, which she had not done before. He noticed that she stayed up later, saying she was working on a proposal, and that when he woke at 2 in the morning to use the bathroom, she was still at the desk in the spare room, the blue light of her laptop on her face. He noticed that when he touched her in the mornings, just a hand on her back, nothing more. She had developed a new habit of shifting very slightly, almost not at all, so that his hand rested on air. He did not say anything. This was his nature and, if he was honest, also his avoidance. They had dinner with friends, Tom and Audrey Breslin, who had been in their lives since before the wedding, and David sat across from Lisa and watched her be luminous. She was witty and warm. She remembered the name of Tom's mother who had been ill. She made Audrey laugh until Audrey had to press her napkin to her eyes. On the drive home, Lisa sat looking out the passenger window and said very little, and David thought, "She saves it for other people now." He did not say this out loud. He turned on the radio to fill the car. One Saturday in mid-November, she told him she had a site visit for a new client. He had no reason to doubt this. She went out at 11 and came home at 3 and smelled of cold air and something else he could not identify. Not perfume, just warmth. The warmth of a room recently occupied. She was in good spirits. She made pasta from scratch that evening, something she only did when she was happy, pulling the dough with her hands while he sat at the island and watched. "You seem good today," he said. "I am good." She smiled, looking at the pasta. It was a good meeting. New client? Older couple in Lakeview. They want to open up the back of the house. They've been sitting on a closed floor plan for 20 years. She shook her head. "You should see the natural light they're blocking." He listened. He asked questions. He ate the pasta and it was excellent. Later he did the dishes while she read on the couch, and he stood at the sink and tried to find the source of the feeling sitting in his chest. Not heavy, just present, like a stone in a shoe that you keep forgetting about and then remembering. The name Nate did not come up again. David did not bring it up. In December, the Breslins hosted a holiday party. David arrived with Lisa and watched her work the room. This too had always been one of the things he'd admired, her ease with people. And late in the evening he found himself standing near the drinks table talking to Tom, who said something offhand that lodged in him. "Lisa seems different lately," Tom said, not unkindly. "Lighter maybe. Whatever you're doing, it's working." David looked across the room at his wife, laughing at something someone had said, her hand at her collarbone, her head tilted back. "Yeah," he said, "she does." He drove home that night with both hands on the wheel and the radio off. In January, he looked up Nathan Pryor. It wasn't difficult. The man had a consultancy website, residential and commercial real estate based in the city. David looked at the headshot for a moment. Mid-40s, pleasant face, the kind of confident stance that came from years of rooms bending in your direction. He closed the browser and did not look again. But in February, he found something he had not gone looking for. He was pulling his winter coat from the closet. Lisa was in the shower, and a scarf fell from the shelf, and when he bent to pick it up, he found, tucked behind the shoe rack in the shadow of the closet wall, a second phone, small, a budget model, no case. He held it for a moment. The shower was still running. He set it back where he'd found it. He straightened. He put on his coat. He stood in the hallway for a long time before he picked up his keys. He did not say anything for 2 weeks. This was not weakness, or it was, but it was also something else. He needed time to understand what he was going to do with the knowledge, because he had learned early in life that decisions made from the center of pain tend to scatter. He went to work. He came home. He watched Lisa move through their house and try to reconcile the woman he was watching with the fact of that phone. Small and unregistered and hidden behind the shoe rack like something shameful. He was quiet in a new way during those 2 weeks. Lisa noticed. He could see her noticing. Could see the small calculations moving behind her eyes when he gave single-word answers or went to bed before she did. Once she put her hand on his face at breakfast and said, "Are you all right?" And he looked at her and said yes. And she studied him for a moment and let it go. The night it surfaced was a Wednesday in late February. They had eaten dinner and Lisa was washing vegetables at the sink, and David sat at the kitchen table and said, "I found the phone." She turned off the faucet. She did not turn around immediately. "David, you don't need to explain it," he said. "I'm not asking you to explain it." She turned then. She was holding a dish towel, and she pressed it between both hands the way people do when they don't know what to do with their body. Her face was not the face of someone caught. It was the face of someone who had been waiting for something to happen, and now it had. How long? He asked. It's not. She stopped. It's not what you think. Tell me what it is then. The silence between them was long. Through the window, the neighbor's oak tree was bare, its branches black against the white sky. David looked at it. He had looked at it many times. 8 months, she said quietly. He had known, he had suspected, but hearing the number given that plainly, did something to the room. It seemed to take up space. Nathan Pryor, he said. She said nothing, which was its own kind of answer. He nodded slowly. He was not going to shout. He was not built for shouting. Did you love him? Lisa set the dish towel on the counter. She looked at the floor, then at him. I don't think I know how to answer that. That's an answer, he said. David, she sat down across from him. Her hands were on the table. I know that nothing I say right now. No, he agreed. Nothing you say right now. She cried then, not dramatically, just quietly, her eyes filling and her chin dropping. He watched her. He found, to his own surprise, that he did not feel the impulse to comfort her. That impulse had always been automatic with him. Its absence felt important. I'm going to stay at my brother's for a while, he said. Please don't. Please, David. It's not a punishment, he said. I'm not doing it to punishment, I need to not be in this house. We can talk, not tonight. He stood. I'm going to pack a bag and I'm going to my brother's house. We'll talk when I'm ready to talk. She was still at the table when he came back downstairs with the bag. She was sitting very still, both hands wrapped around her own elbows, looking at the middle of the room. He stopped in the doorway for a moment. He looked at her, 7 years and the copper pots she had chosen, and the photographs in the hallway, and the pasta from scratch when she was happy. I loved you very much, he said. He used the past tense without deciding to. It simply came out that way. He left. He stayed at his brother Patrick's house for 6 weeks. Patrick asked very few questions, which David was grateful for. He slept in the guest room and went to work, and on weekends helped Patrick with the kind of minor house repairs that accumulate when you are busy and afraid. A gutter bracket that had pulled away from the fascia, a door that wouldn't latch properly. David was good at these tasks. He found them calming. Lisa texted sporadically. The messages were measured at first. I miss you. I want to talk when you're ready. Then longer, more effortful. The kind of messages that had clearly been written and rewritten. I've been thinking about what I need to tell you and I keep getting it wrong. I don't think what I did reflects how I feel about you. I think I was trying to fill something I didn't know how to ask for. I don't expect you to understand that yet. He read them all. He did not respond to most of them. When he did respond, he kept it brief, logistical. I'll be by Tuesday for the rest of my things. I won't need you to be there. In April, he moved into an apartment on the east side of the city. 2 bedrooms, 3rd floor, windows that faced a parking structure but got good morning light. He furnished it sparsely and deliberately. He did not hang photographs. Nathan Pryor had ended things with Lisa in March. He had learned this from Patrick, who had heard it from Audrey Breslin, who had apparently become a collector of information about the situation. David absorbed this fact and set it aside. It was not relevant to the accounting he was doing, which had less to do with Lisa and Nathan than with himself. With the years he had spent measuring love and consistency, and failing to measure it in anything else, with the way he had seen the distance growing and named it nothing, with the slow accumulation of small moments in which he had chosen comfort over honesty, he was not excusing her. He was trying to understand himself. Lisa called him once in April, a Sunday afternoon. He was cooking, something simple, eggs, and he let it ring once before he answered. How are you? She asked. I'm okay, he said. I wanted to tell you, I've been seeing someone, a therapist. A pause. I know I'm not saying it to make you feel a certain way. I just wanted you to know. That's good, he said. I mean that. I know you do. She was quiet for a moment. You always meant what you said. He didn't know what to do with that. He let it sit. I've been doing some of that too, he said. Thinking, going back over things. Are you angry at me? He thought about it honestly. I was. I think now it's more like grief. It feels more like grief. She made a small sound. Not quite a sob. The sound of someone receiving information they had already known but had been hoping was wrong. "I'm sorry, David," she said. Not as a thing you say. I mean it. I know what I cost us." "I know you do," he said. He scrambled his eggs. They talked for another 10 minutes about small things. The house was on the market, his nephew's baseball season, whether either of them had watched a particular show. When they hung up, the apartment was very quiet, and the eggs were slightly overcooked. But he ate them at the kitchen counter and thought about what grief looked like when it was no longer sharp. It looked, he decided, like this: ordinary and slow. A Sunday in April with overcooked eggs and morning light on a parking structure. The gradual process of becoming someone who had lived through something. He saw her once more in person before the divorce was finalized. It was July, a Tuesday, unremarkable in the way July Tuesdays are. They had agreed to meet at a cafe near the old neighborhood to sign some paperwork. A formality. Their lawyers had handled everything, but there were a few items for which wet signatures were still required. Some bureaucratic holdover that seemed almost quaint, given what had been dissolved. He arrived 5 minutes early and took a table near the window. He ordered coffee. He watched the street. She looked well. He had not expected otherwise. Lisa had always been someone who presented herself carefully, not from vanity, but from a particular kind of self-respect, a belief that the outside should reflect some deliberate intention even when the inside was in disarray. Her hair was shorter. She was wearing a blue linen dress he hadn't seen before. She looked like herself and also like someone slightly edited, the way cities look when you return to them after a long time, recognizable and quietly changed. She sat down. They said hello. The waitress brought her coffee without being asked. The cafe knew her, of course. It was near the old house. That small detail reached him somewhere. They went through the paperwork. It didn't take long. He had a pen and she had a pen, and they passed the pages back and forth and signed where the yellow tabs indicated, and neither of them made a joke about it, which struck him afterward as the right call. When they had finished, the papers went into her folder and the folder into her bag, and they sat for a moment with their coffees. "I started a new project," she said, "a historic building in the north side. They want to preserve as much of the original detail as possible." "That sounds like something you'd be good at," he said. "I hope so." She looked at her cup. "I've been thinking a lot about preservation lately. What it means to—" She paused, gave a small, self-aware smile. "Sorry, I'm not trying to make it into something. It's okay. How's the apartment?" "It's good." "Small. I like it." She nodded. The street outside was bright. Someone passed with a stroller, a dog. The ordinary furniture of a Tuesday in July. David looked at Lisa across the table and felt, with great clarity, the particular weight of knowing someone completely. Their habits, their fears, the exact sound of their laugh when it was real versus when it was performance, and being at the same time finished with them. It was not a cruel feeling. It was not a triumphant one. It was one of the quietest feelings he had ever had. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Yes." "Do you think—" She stopped, started again. "Do you think there was a version of this where it didn't happen? Where we found it, whatever was missing, before it got to—" She gestured at the folder in her bag. He took his time. He owed her a real answer. "I think there were a lot of versions," he said. "I think we walked past them, both of us." She looked at him steadily. Her eyes were wet, but she did not cry. "I think I knew that," she said. "So did I." Outside, a child was pointing at something. A pigeon, probably. The street had pigeons, with the full conviction of someone discovering the world. His mother was saying something, not looking, and the child kept pointing. They finished their coffees. She gathered her things. They stood outside on the sidewalk and she said, "Take care of yourself, David," in the voice of someone who means it with their whole body and knows it isn't enough. And he said, "You too, Lisa." And they stood for a moment in the city summer heat without moving. Two people who had been the whole world to each other and were now neighbors in the larger world, close and unreachable. She walked east. He walked west. He did not look back, not because he had mastered himself, but because there was nothing left to see that he did not already carry. Some marriages end with a door slamming. Some end with paperwork on a Tuesday. This one ended the way it had really been ending for years. Quietly, in the unannounced departure of small things. The pasta from scratch, the hand on the face at breakfast, the two chairs on the porch that no one sat in anymore, the steady and invisible disappearance of what had once seemed permanent, not broken, exactly, to slowly, and then all at once, gone.